Hello, welcome to this new video. This time I want to go over the concept of web application firewalls. Just heads up, this is a video where we're going to be talking about it. I am not going to be demonstrating how a web application firewall is configured. There are too many of them. Maybe I'll create another video with AWS web app or something like that. But at this moment, I just want to talk about the concept of web application firewalls, why you would need them, why they are useful, and you should consider having them protecting your web app. And we're going to go over one simple to use command that is included in most Kali Linux distros, which is Wafw00f, and it's Wafw00f. Just keep that in mind. The command itself is not going to do anything other than trying to detect whether the application is behind a web application firewall, and we're going to do a couple of examples of the command for you to have a much better understanding of what it does and how it works. Now, let me bring this diagram that I have here to go over the web application firewall as a concept. Now, a web application firewall is a security tool, a security, not a device, because most likely it's going to be a software that is going to sit between the client and the web application that the client would like to access. And the web application could be anything. Could be a website that is a web application, or it could be an application itself. There are many different types of applications, right? So for this video, I'm going to refer to web applications as websites, but it doesn't mean that every website is a web application, because it could be static, just simple HTML. There's nothing in there. But I'm going to use that for the example, because most websites right now are so advanced that they are considered web applications. So again, it's a security tool that you're going to install or enable, I should say, and it's going to monitor the request. So let me bring this right here. So in this case, let me bring this over and get my pen going. So in this case, behind the web application firewall, I'm going to have the web application, right? And that web application could be anything. As I mentioned before, I'm going to use as an example a website. So it's going to be www.mysite.io. Now, this is a complex site that is going to have different forms, it's going to have different codes and different things in there. So when a user connects to my web application, they're going to send the, I'm going to have a legitimate user right here. They're going to come and connect to the web application. They're going to go through the web application firewall that is going to ensure that all the communication, all the commands that this client is sending over to the application are legitimate commands and nothing is corrupted or with malicious intent. Once that information gets filtered through the web application, and the web application is going to have a set of predetermined rules that are inherent to the application depending on what you want to do, or you as an admin can configure rules for the web application depending on your specific needs. So once this traffic goes through the web application and the web application okays the traffic, is going to make it to the application itself, and then the application is going to communicate back to the client. It's all good. Everything is perfect. That is just in theory, because we all know that there are a lot of malicious actors out there who want to do bad things with your web application. Why would they like to compromise your web application? Because behind your web application, depending on who you are and what you are doing, you could have a set of infrastructure that could potentially connect to different databases with information valuable to the attackers. So the attackers are going to try to do different type of web attacks to gain access to that information that is behind your web application. And there are many different type of attacks, and we're not going to mention them all. But for instance, an attacker could send cross-site scripting type of attacks to your site. And if the site is not protected by the web application, it doesn't mean that your site is going to fall prey of that, but it's going to be vulnerable if it has any vulnerabilities, of course. The attacker also, let's say that there's a login page right here somewhere to log into the bank, right? Or to log into anything. The attacker could try to send some type of malicious commands and try to do some type of SQL injection on your web app. So when those commands are sent over to the web application and they go through the web application firewall, the web application firewall is going to stop that connection right there. It's not going to let it go through. So that is one of the many benefits you should consider to when it comes to having a web application firewall. Now let me come over to my colleague's machine right here just to run a command. So as I mentioned to you before, there's these very useful commands called Wafw00f, right? There's nothing to it. The command itself is not going to break anything. What the command is going to do is going to send packets. It's going to send crafted packets. Let me get this again. To the web application. Let me find like this right here, for instance. But since it's going to go or not through the web application firewall, the command is going to receive responses from the firewall to say, hey, listen, you want to get to the web app, but I'm here. And it's going to reply back to the command, right? So let me, I should do that right here, not that. Like, let's see, Wafw00f right here. So based on the response that it's going to receive from the web application firewall, the command is going to go through its signature list and it's going to identify the type of web application firewall that is protecting or not the web application. That's the concept of the command. Again, the command itself is not going to do any pen testing. It's not going to find vulnerabilities. It's not going to identify vulnerabilities. It's just going to compare the response from the web application firewall, if there's any, with a signature list that it has to provide that information to you. So if we do Wafw00f space -L, it's going to list, as of the time of this video, all the signatures that are part of the command to identify web application. As you see here, the list is extensive, but it's not complete. And the other thing, like any other signature-based technology, you're going to have some false positives and false negatives when it comes to the results. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to provide some information, right? As you could see here, you're going to get things from Cisco, Amazon, Barracuda, Microsoft, so on and so forth. So let's run a couple of examples right here. So let me do Wafw00f, but let me show you the help menu. The help menu is super simple. You have help, verbosity, and a couple of commands. It's very simple. To use the command, what you're gonna do is Wafw00f and the site that you wanna test. Let's say that we want to do Amazon.com to see if Amazon web app sits behind a web application firewall, and as you can see right here, it says that Amazon is behind CloudFront, and that looks pretty good, right? It was very simple. But something you have to keep in mind, and this may be something that is of interest to you or not, is that you can see what's really happening in the background if you increase the verbosity of the command. Remember, if we go to the help menu, you're gonna see if there is a -v for verbosity. So we're gonna come here one more time, and we're gonna do -v, and look what's gonna happen now. Okay, there you go. It wasn't nothing, but you can increase verbosity with doing more V's. See what happens right here. And as you could see, this is everything that the command is sending in the background to hopefully identify the technology that is sitting in front of the web application firewall. Now, there are some websites that you're gonna try to scan, and it's gonna tell you that they are not they're not using a web application firewall, right? So let's see, I'm doing CNN.com. As you could see, it's going through the list of signatures that it has, and it's checking for the different type of firewalls that the system has identified. And the result is going to be that no WAF was detected by the generic detection. So it didn't know what type of web application firewall, if any, is sitting in front of CNN.com, but it's going to tell you that it found one match, but it doesn't know what it is. So as I said before, with this type of commands, you're going to get a lot of false positives, false negatives, like anything else that is signature based, right? If we do, for instance, not Google, let's say bbc.com. So we're going to go bbc.com, and the same. It didn't detect anything with the generic, and it didn't detect anything at all. But we can assume that there's something, helping or protecting bbc.com. So if we bring back this diagram, we can, not everything is on this diagram, of course, not every type of attack. But we can see that web application firewalls are going to protect the application, and I'm going to mention the most common type of attacks: cross-site scripting, SQL injections, right? Denial of service attacks. You're going to come this way here. And any type of corrupted or type of malicious traffic that does not comply with the protocol that you're trying to communicate could get dropped by the web application attacks. We have SSL injection, right? SQL injection, and so on and so forth. So not every web application is gonna sit behind a web application firewall, because usually web application firewalls are a paid service that you have to pay, but most of them do, not all of them. So how is this information useful to you? Now, when it comes down to it, as I remember this guy who used to say, what does it have to do with the price of eggs, right? Like, this is cute, nice graph, thing, ChatGPT and all that, but how does it apply to you and your organization? Well, this information is useful because knowing how and what a web application firewall does is going to encourage you to implement that to protect your web application against this type of malicious attacks. As I mentioned before, this command right here, Wafw00f, It's not going to do anything other than trying to detect a web application. So this is something, if you do vulnerability assessment, pen testings, or you are a security auditor, you could use this type of commands to collect information. Now, this information in and of itself may not be useful, but if you combine the results of this information with other tools as part of your reconnaissance for the engagement, then you're going to be able to put together that puzzle that you want to put together, right? So also something to keep in mind is that, if you are part of a team and you have web developers spitting out web apps left and right, and you've told them, hey, listen, make sure that you enable web apps before you put something in production, or even if you are in a transition period but is publicly available. Some of these people, like software engineers, they're good, and web developers, but sometimes they don't care about security. They just put things out. They don't care about anything else. So using Wafw00f is a simple command that you can do to run your test, and then depending on the results, you could do verifications after. So I hope this information was useful to you. In this case, we're not going deep into anything or trying to break something or doing something super complex. It's general knowledge, best practice, and another command for your toolbox. If you found this information useful, consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a nice comment if you wish, or if you know someone who can benefit from this information, feel free to forward this video to them. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you on the next video.